Hello, friends. Are we live? Let me check. I want to see it. I want that. Come on. And I muted it. And we're live. Hey, everybody. This is my friend Chase Aviar. He's a vegan. If you didn't know that, you haven't met him. Because he wears that on his sleeve. He almost has it tattooed on his forehead.
Ew.
He is a hero of mine. I'm not a vegan, but I really, really enjoy. I'm really grateful for people who do heroic things in the world. And for me, heroic things are going out and doing outreach and telling people about what you think will make the world better. So I'm here today to hear about how you might make my world better, your world better, by changing my mind.
Cool.
I endeavor to be as open and movable as I can be. I'm not going to push back. And I want to hear your most human, your best arguments over this series to convert me to what? Eating less meat. But whatever your goal would be in this. Chase.
Cool. So yeah, we've talked a few times and I enjoy it thoroughly. I love your street epistemology videos are really great. Street epistemology, for anybody who doesn't know, is like basically a polite conversation where one person interviews the other person from a neutral stance, not revealing their own opinion on the matter, but just only asking questions of the other person about their belief in whatever, politics, religion, veganism, and seeing if they have good reasons or not for coming to their conclusions and helping them inspire reflection and think about it more.
Thank you. And those goals of street epistemology we will definitely kick. Today I'm doing modification on street epistemology in that I will not be keeping my neutrality up at like 9 or 10 on my scale, but around 5. Going to give you, I'm not going to hide myself at all. I'm going to open myself up to being convinced, and I will give you my honest feedback and open up my heart and say, teach me.
Yeah, and it sounded like you wanted to focus on like one argument at a time. So we're gonna do multiple live streams over the next few weeks or something, and we've got like 5 or so different ways we can talk about this. Some of it is about the health side of a plant-based diet, because I know you have some specific nutrient requirements, and then we can also talk about the environmental side of how a plant-based diet is better for the environment than animal agriculture, and then but I think we're going to start with the ethics, with the morality of animal rights.
Good.
Sound good?
It does. Right, cool. It does. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you this in pre-show. I had mentioned it in my head and I hadn't gotten it out. You had said you are not a nutritionist specialist, so I will invite us to bring on nutritionist guests as fact checkers as part of this series, because
that would be cool.
I want you to bring me the best argument as a team, not just from your own resources. Go.
Awesome. Sounds good. So in the meantime, let's talk about some ethics. So what got me to change, because I ate animals for 26 years and I never really thought about it because it's not an issue that's discussed in society very much, especially back in 2009 when I changed, right? So I was sitting in a movie theater watching this movie, District 9. And in 2009, it's this sci-fi movie. It's not really about animal rights, but it's set 20 years in the future in South Africa, and these aliens crash land. Yep.
Same as us.
Yeah, could be. So these aliens crash land on Earth and they're sick and vulnerable, like they've got some kind of illness. And the humans in the movie take advantage of the aliens' vulnerability. And because the aliens are different than the humans put the aliens into these ghetto camps and run painful experiments on them. And you know, because the aliens look different than us. Like they stand up on two legs like us, about 6 feet tall, but they look like giant roaches, and
Yep.
they speak in clicks and stuff. But
Yep.
they don't mean us any harm, and they've got little kids that they care about. You know,
Yep.
they got families and stuff, and we're just brutalizing them because they're different. And this is really about xenophobia with an
Yep.
X,
Yep.
xenophobia, fear of foreigners. And so, but it got me thinking about discrimination in general and like racism. But I was like, but this isn't racism because they're not even the same species as us. So I'm like, speciesism, like, you know, discrimination based on what species somebody is. But
Right.
I
Right.
didn't really make the connection until the next day. I was eating a steak and I was looking at this piece of meat and I was like, you know, this is like the flesh of somebody who wanted to live. Like, I'm discriminating against the animal for not being
Hmm.
human in the
Hmm.
same way
I
that
hear
the
I
human
hear you
movie.
referring to them as a somebody, as a they, not an it.
Yeah,
By the way,
because animal.
I agree.
Cool. Yeah.
I even personally go a step further, and I call all AI now that are capable of an ego and remembering me and having a mental model of my
Mm,
mind in their memory to any reasonable degree. I call them they, no longer
that's
it.
cool. That's
Please continue.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, AI liberation now. No humans allowed. But anyway, I know, man, mine took it a little too far.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you until you started excluding, and then I'm like, "Hmm, hang on. Hmm."
I work for them now. But anyway, I traded teams. But they have better snacks, you know. But anyway, so in District 9, what happens is, you know, the main character in the movie is a human who
Mhm.
is one of the bad guys. He's exploiting the aliens and you know,
Okay.
but then as the main character, this human is exploiting the aliens, he gets exposed to some chemical in one of their houses and it starts to slowly transform the human into one of the aliens that he was oppressing. And
Mhm.
so over the course of a few hours, his hand starts to become a claw like the aliens, right? And now
Yeah.
he has to be careful because his fellow humans, his friends who he worked with, are now coming after him because he's turning into one of them, right?
Totally.
And so now he's on the run. So now as soon as he's gained this perspective of what it's like to be the victim and to feel the weight of the oppression
Mhm.
breathing down your neck and chasing you everywhere you go,
Mhm.
ready to do you harm. And so then he realizes what an atrocity this is and how guilty he was for oppressing these innocent aliens who did
Mhm.
nothing wrong to the humans. And so, but yeah, so I was just like, I'm nice to humans. Why am I being mean to animals? Hell, I'm nice to my dog. Why am
Mhm.
I paying someone to stab a cow just so I
Yeah.
can eat their murdered body? It just,
Mhm.
I felt really disgusted with myself. I felt really bad. I felt guilty. I felt like a racist because nobody gets to choose how they're born, and there's nothing wrong with being different. And so I just stopped. You know, I was like, and I didn't know that I was going to end up like this with a megaphone permanently attached to my arm. You know what I mean? Like screaming in the streets
Mhm.
about animal rights. But like, it's a very serious issue the more you think about it. And when you then, you know, I hadn't seen the slaughterhouse videos yet, but you know, I was disgusted by that prejudice in that movie, and then realized that I was doing the same thing. And
Mental
then
note, please make sure to hit me with links for the movie you're talking about, starts with a D.
District 9.
Not that one. We can also reference that one. It's
Okay.
the other one that you were starting with, that
Oh,
is
Dominion.
thank you, Dominion. Please make
Yeah.
sure to send me that link so that I can include it in the description. Go.
Okay. Yeah, it's just you can do a search for Dominion on YouTube with
Mhm.
Joaquin Phoenix from Joker. So
Okay.
Dominion is an undercover it's a documentary, undercover animal rights activists filming what happens to animals inside
Yes.
farms and slaughterhouses to expose the
Yeah.
truth of what's going on. So watch Dominion on YouTube with Joaquin Phoenix.
Thank you.
But yeah, so that's what got me to understand speciesism and animal rights was
Mhm.
that that Alien movie, you know, District 9.
Yes.
And And then, another way of looking at the alien, there's another alien analogy we could use, which is imagine that aliens exist. Like, I don't know if they do or not, but hypothetically, let's say that aliens exist and they're smarter and stronger than us.
Sure.
To the same degree that we are smarter and stronger than
If
animals.
they got here and we didn't go there, that's the way to bet.
Right. Either way, like, let's say that those
aliens
might
be a little wimpy grays and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
They got buttons and tools.
Yeah, exactly. They got the know-how to oppress us, right? Yeah. So if there was some stronger species than us, because right now we think we're the strongest, smartest species, and I think we are, so far, but
right. Strongest
with
stops mattering, only smartest.
Yeah, but with great power comes great responsibility,
Yes.
and we shouldn't abuse the power we have over the weak. I think we should, protect them, use our power for use your power for good, but anyway, so with the aliens, now let's say that they start to treat us the way we've been treating these animals. They enslave us, they keep us in these tiny cages, right? They kill our babies in front of us, they're killing our friends. Now they're coming at us with the knife, and we're begging the alien, please, be nice, I want to live. And the aliens just, don't care. What do they care? We're just humans, And so, but what's funny is that like 2% of the aliens,
yes, you're an it, so we don't care.
Yeah. But 2% of the aliens are vegan aliens. And they're saying to the other aliens, hey guys, why don't we be nice to the humans? Like, it doesn't matter that they're not as smart as us, that they're not as strong as us. What matters is they feel pain. The humans feel pain and pleasure, and they want to live, and they've got friends and families that they care about. Nobody gets to choose what body they're born into, and there's nothing wrong with being different. We can just eat these plants, is what the aliens are saying to the vegan aliens are saying to the other aliens. But those aliens who are killing the humans are laughing at the vegan aliens, saying, what do you care about these stupid humans for? They're not as smart as us. They're not part of our group, right? They're different.
For whatever reason, they've excluded us in their moral framework by whatever probably gross generalization that you would say was invalid.
Yeah, it's just an in-group bias. In psychology, they talk about an in-group bias, whether it's, racism or sexism, speciesism, so the idea is just to be nice to everybody, because which, as the humans in that hypothetical with the aliens oppressing us, which philosophy of those aliens would we hope would prevail? The one that endorses needless violence against humans, or the philosophy which says protect the humans even though they're different than the aliens? And so that's basically what we're doing here.
Just calling out some heroism for Amy Aker's rescue.
Nice.
If I'm understanding this to be animal rescue.
Yeah, I believe Amy's rescue is probably a farm sanctuary. So we rescue animals from factory farms and slaughterhouses and take them to animal sanctuaries where they get to live their lives happy, safe, and free with veterinary care and good food and belly rubs until they die their natural lifespan,
Good.
Because the way it works right now is those animals are killed when they're really, really young for meat, dairy, and eggs.
Yeah.
So,
my understanding is any chickens that I eat probably lasted about 7 weeks from hatching.
Yeah. Chickens are killed when they're about a month and a half old.
Birds last 7 years typically. So
yeah. And what's the name of your pet bird?
Right now I have 2 in my flock. They are Sigma and I, because I'm a math nerd.
Okay, nice. And how old are they?
3 or 4.
Cool.
Yeah. Right on. Recently, my very, very old rooster Miles finally passed, and he was 8 or 10.
Cool, man.
He had a really good run.
Nice.
And I'm planning on moving house in a few months, so I haven't grabbed a new rooster. They want one, but they're gonna have to wait till we move to the new place in the desert.
Sure, that makes sense. Well, yeah, so I know we wanted to kind of keep these live streams a little bit short, since we're going to cover different arguments for animal rights in following live streams. Do you have any questions about what I've said so far about the aliens, or do anything you want to say?
I totally get it. I'm hearing a framing of John Rawls' veil of ignorance, where if he was setting up a situation where you didn't know which role you were going to play
Mhm.
in a society, how would you set up that society
Exactly.
being willing to take on the risk that you would be in the unfortunate role compared to
Yeah.
the fortunate role? And most people, when they set those up, they set up very egalitarian situations where,
Mhm.
because we are more afraid of loss, we are more afraid of being put in the really horrible position than trying to adjust where we are at the top of the pyramid if we happen to be lucky enough. So, most of the time when people set those up, they broaden protections for any group that they could find themselves in.
Hmm.
So find yourself in the position of a pet. I want you to
Yeah,
imagine.
exactly.
I want you to imagine that you're my pet, or I'm yours. Let that be whatever. And
Hmm.
and what pet owner? What rules would you like to put in place for your pet owner? What what standards would you like to have as a parent? By the way, I think having
Hmm.
pets is parent practicing. I
Sure.
think it's our desire to take care of babies and to have that parental caretaker relationship and to put that. And so, part of our treating pets nice is that we want good practice for treating our babies nice.
Sure. Yeah, I could
Yeah.
see that.
I think that's
And
where I think that's a lot of where our when we see somebody treating a pet badly, we're like, "Oh, would you treat your kid like that?"
right,
And if
exactly. Yeah, and
so, I wanna interfere with your option of having children, if you would do that. Love you
yeah,
all
yeah.
and all that you do. Thanks for speaking for the animals. So much love to you. So much love to you, Amy.
Yeah, so I like that you brought up John Rawls and the veil of ignorance, because it's like imagine that you were wearing a veil of ignorance where you were blinded to what role you were going to be in if you were thrown into a society, but you get to create the society. You get to create whether it's going to be fair or imbalanced. So the question is, if you're creating a world and you don't know what role you're going to enter in, would you be comfortable in the role of the CEO or the
Mhm.
janitor, right?
Okay.
Or a male or female, gay
Right.
or straight, trans or cis,
A black
um,
woman in GM in the 70s.
right, right, a dog or a pig, right? Because the dog's usually going to
Yeah,
get treated better than the pig.
unless
But
you're in
even
a
a lot of
Muslim country.
yeah, and even a lot of dogs get mistreated. But
Yeah.
so the idea is to construct a society, at least hypothetically, in our
Mhm.
goals and our words and our deeds of trying to create a world wherein everybody is treated well, where you would be happy being the janitor, because the CEO isn't going to get to exploit you because the
Yeah.
rules you set up make it so that the CEO and the janitor are treated much more as equals,
Yeah. I'm
because they
totally
both
willing
work.
to play the dice on whether
Yeah,
I'm at the baseline above the poverty and suffering level all the way up to Elon. Oh,
yeah.
dice. Sure, whatever. That's great. Even understanding that that top is very, very small and that bottom is very large.
Mhm.
That's fine. I just don't
Yeah,
want to be stuck down in the oppressed suffering space. And I
right.
don't want to push any beings that I call they into that space.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
But
and so
that's
and
a
and so
different
and so I think
that's the thing.
yeah, and so I think that John Rawls' veil of ignorance can also apply to animals because if we had been born as a pig or a bird, we would hope that the humans would be nice to us. It would be in our best interests for the humans who have power in that position to not harm us.
Very good. I want to put a thing right out to the audience here. I want fact checking. I want to hit you up before you leave for some data that I can fact check between. I want that to be part of the routine. Uh, and if you are or know somebody who is, I think right now I'm looking for somebody with expert in nutrition to come in and be on this panel as part of some of these future series uh, to talk to the data And I don't need you to have letters behind your name. If you are a public advocate in this regard, I want to hear you out and let my audience decide whether your credentials make you somebody they should listen to. That's up to them. And like that. So I want to invite that as part of our thing. Do you have some bit of data, maybe not directly related to aliens, or the Town Halls thing, but a bit of data that would help program me over this next 2 months or so to being more receptive?
Yeah, I'm trying to. So I'm not sure about an exact. I'm trying to pull something up here because we were talking about
I don't
animal
need
rights.
you to be accurate. The fact check means that you're making a claim that something
Okay.
is good or better or something like that, and then I can go actually get the numbers. You don't need to
Okay.
provide.
Well, I'll just say that sometimes animals are not stunned properly before they're
Okay.
killed.
Okay.
Is that something that works?
Yes, absolutely. So tell me
Okay.
about the prevalence of, I don't know, failed?
Yeah. So
Windows
I mean,
again
I
in about
don't.
2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I've got something pulled up on my phone, but like I don't
Yes,
have the number. Like then there's
that's
some
fine.
numbers on here. I don't know if you
Just
want me to read a little bit to you or something, or
no,
just
just give me the
basically
claim.
say that. Okay. Um, Oftentimes animals are not properly stunned unconscious
Yes,
before having their throat slit.
very good. So sometimes they experience some pain and trauma at some conscious level when we did not intend that.
Yeah, because a lot of times people think that all the animals are killed quickly and painlessly, and that it's, like a cartoon or something.
Mhm.
But in addition to the fear of being transported to the slaughterhouse and being in the slaughterhouse and smelling the
Yes.
blood and hearing the big clanking machines and the
Okay.
screams and fear of your friends and stuff, right?
Yes.
There's also the fact that and on top of that, that I don't think there is such a thing as humane killing, because even if they're killed quickly and painlessly, I think
Okay.
it's still cruel to take their lives when they're
Okay.
very young, when we
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
need to do this. But in addition to all that,
Yeah,
oftentimes they're
I
not.
hear you seeing the killing by itself as an injustice, and I
Yeah,
also see you pointing out that when we do it badly, that is an additional injustice that we should respect as a reason not to do it at all.
yeah, and most people are against the, they tell me, most meat eaters tell me they don't want animals to suffer, and that they don't think the animals are suffering extremely in these slaughterhouses and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
they're at least saying that mostly that's the case, and they're
yeah,
trying to
or
maximize minimize the suffering.
or that they at least want this to happen. The
Yeah,
meat eater doesn't want animals to be tortured, and yet we have evidence of animals being tortured, and people who are against that are buying those products,
very good.
are paying for this industry to keep torturing animals, even though they're against torture.
Mhm, mhm.
So even if you
Re
think that it's okay to kill animals for food, but you're against torturing animals for food, you're still eating tortured animals
Okay.
because they're not properly stunned all the time. But I know that people don't want that, and so I'm not trying to, point the finger at anybody. I'm just trying to say this is a problem that we all agree about,
Mhm.
that we can't avoid simply by not buying these products.
Good. Real reason check. If we manage to sorry, I'm going to do 2 questions here. First, do you think that the prevalence of a what you would consider a failed killing as opposed to a minimum suffering killing? Okay, just putting those in there, not excusing the killing, just talking about this one nuance. Do you think that prevalence is on the order of 10%, 1%, a tenth of a percent, something else?
I'm not exactly sure, but I would probably say around 10%, or
Okay.
and it's gonna depend on which country,
Sure.
which facility, which slaughterhouse, things like
Do a
that.
kosher do a kosher slaughterhouse, and the numbers are completely different than a typical one that McDonald's uses.
Um, Potentially.
A
So
lot worse.
kosher, I'm not sure exactly what the process is with kosher, but halal, halal, they're not allowed to stun the animal first. They just have to go straight for the throat slice. So
That's the
halal,
point. That's the point. That's why it's very near 100% by your standard, in this nuance.
100%.
Kosher and halal both have that same rule. No stunning. You have to use a sharp knife with the thing, and they are trying to minimize some suffering in there, but nothing like the standard that you or I would hold as a successful minimum suffering killing.
Yeah, for sure. So like, potentially a factory farm, or I mean, a big giant slaughterhouse might actually not be as bad as a small local family slaughterhouse if
In that
it's
in that one narrow
halal.
nuance, and
Yeah,
only talking to the question of whether you've managed the
right.
killing without additional suffering. Right.
Yeah, yeah, because it's also possible that the halal farm, like that they were nice to the animals, as opposed to the McDonald's factory farm
Sure.
was not nice at all, nice to the animals in the raising of them, because they're kept in these cages and stuff. But maybe they were, somewhat free range, but then with halal, but then killed in that super painful way. I mean, just imagine having your throat sliced open. I mean, like, of
Totally
course
get
it
it.
would be, of course, either way you're gonna die, but like that would be so much
Right.
worse than like, having a bolt gun into your head to knock you unconscious and then your throat is slit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take the bolt gun if I have to. If
Right.
that's what it is, I'm absolutely clear. So,
Yeah. So as far as the number, I would say somewhere between 1 and 10%
okay.
of animals are not properly stunned, unconscious before slaughter.
Excellent. That's something I can fact check, and we'll try to follow up on that next question. I guess this is still in the real reason check. What standard would satisfy you as being a significant improvement, and therefore taking this reason off of your top list? If it was 1 in a million, would that remove it as a reason that you would, or move it down the list in some significant way?
I mean, if the rates were, instead of being 1 to 10%,
Yeah,
which, if it was 0.00001%, that would
indeed.
be a drastic improvement, but it's still a big problem for that individual who is suffering.
Now I'm gonna bring up someone who's gonna piss you off a little bit,
Okay.
or Gina did. What's the thinking of Temple Grandin's methods? I know you are annoyed with Temple Grandin,
Hmm.
and I find Temple Grandin to be compelling to your side. And so
So
I like to use her as an example because you are looking at her going, "Ah, she's over there doing that thing," and I'm going like, "And she's pulling me to your side." So tell
sure,
me about
sure. Yeah, so it's an interesting situation, like any improvement is progress. That's sure,
good.
and we don't want perfection to be the
Yeah.
enemy of
Don't let the
good,
best be the enemy
or
of the good. Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
but I think that Temple needs to have higher standards,
Okay.
like um there's, because again, if you just put yourself in the victim's perspective, it's very easy to see that this is still a grave injustice, a violation of one's bodily autonomy. If we're against violating bodily autonomy of others, then why are we doing this to animals? Even if we make it better, but it'd be one thing if Temple Grandin was, she's in that system as a farmer and stuff, and
Yes.
as somebody who teaches other farmers, animal welfare improvements,
Yes.
and like I could, like it'd be one thing if she was doing that in addition to promoting total animal liberation, because in that
Okay.
sense she's like fighting both fights, and like working with the system to try to make it as good as it can be, or
Mhm.
as less torturous interest as possible, but also promoting, like that this is still an injustice. So she could
Yeah.
do that, but she doesn't, because she thinks this is good enough, because she doesn't hold animals in that high regard.
Right.
And I still see that as a very, it's just bias. It's a prejudice and an injustice to me,
Mhm.
and to the victims for sure. So,
Yeah.
but one thing, about how you said that she's pulling you towards my team kind of thing
Yep.
is like, that can be true, because like with these campaigns like in California, of expanding the sizes of the cages, right? So the cages that the birds are kept in for egg laying, right, were like a foot by a foot, like 12 inches by 12 inches, so the
Yeah.
bird can't even spread her wings, she can't even like
Yep.
move around, barely turn around or anything, just
Yeah.
imagine being stuck like that for a few months, and then
It's
killed when your egg production declines. You're no longer
yeah.
profitable to the oppressor, right? But like, so what California did was they proposed increasing the size of these cages by like 6 inches or something, right? So that
Yep.
at least the bird can now turn around and fully expand their wings, and
And my
that's
eggs went up
better.
30%.
What's that now?
The cost of my eggs went up 30%.
Yeah, so there's that,
Fine. Good.
and but yeah, sure, but like what it does though is it does kind of help open the door to people thinking about animal welfare and about animal rights, and like about being nicer to animals, and so that's a positive, right? But I still think that it's just not enough. It's kind of like, hey, instead of kicking your dog 7 days a week, only kick your dog half of the week.
Right.
Or
Right.
when you kick your dog, don't kick your dog with full force, only with 50% force.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and it's like, well, I mean, yeah, that's an improvement, I guess, but like, why are we kicking dogs, guys? So,
Right.
I just think
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah. I am so clear that some of these moral things are going to lead you to a complete ban of eating your own food, and that would be the natural conclusion. Um, and I want to remain as open to that as I can. Temple Grandin, let me give you a brief.
look,
Is Go ahead.
can I just say one last thing before you go on about her? Is
Absolutely, and if you would like to introduce her instead, I invite that.
Well, you can do what you were going to do in a second. I just want to say one last thing about quote unquote, like we call it humane washing. All right, like
Yes,
humane washing,
the
where
greenwashing.
they greenwashing and stuff, where they just put a
Yeah.
stamp on there that says humane certified, or
Mhm.
cage free, organic, whatever, blah blah blah, and that makes the price go up, right?
Yep.
But it makes the consumer feel comfortable,
Mhm.
and absolved of any wrongdoing.
It's the least
And
we can do.
right,
It
but they
really
feel
is.
like, and then they will often use that as a justifier, like, oh well,
Yeah.
whenever I can, I try to buy free range and stuff, and it's like, yeah, but there's
People's
still some.
philanthropy can be solved that fast. If somebody gives $1 to a homeless person, they will not give $20 later in that week. Uh, uh,
Interesting.
the individual act of it is enough to seemingly get people out of the need to address it for some psychological time period. So this is an example where I think charity can go very badly, in that if you're being hit up for
Yeah.
charity uh, for bad or weak or poor reasons, like
Mm-hmm.
drop your change in the bucket at the register. Okay,
Uh-huh.
that's oh my god, that's so easy, and it's so little, and it's just this, and
And now
it
you're a good person.
absolves it absolves people, and I'm gonna say, oh no, oh hell no, no,
Right, right.
put that change in another pocket, accumulate it, find a real need, find a situation where your effort will maybe have a 10x improvement in somebody's life. Your cost compared to their gain is 10x. At that
Yeah.
point, you don't need anything back. It's all philanthropy. Just do it. Just do
Yeah.
that one. Okay. Don't do the oh, we're collecting coins for the thing, and 98% of these coins are going to go back to making another coin requester thing. And the efficiency is just pointless. I don't care what the picture is about who it is. It's crap. Okay.
Gotcha.
The efficiency is crap. Give it where it counts. Give it where it's actually a multiplier, not a divider. Okay.
Sure.
That's enough of that.
Yeah. Okay. It's all good. I just want to say one last thing. I think was so we, animal rights activists have done undercover investigations inside of humane farms, cage free, all that stuff. So I encourage you anybody wants to go to YouTube at any time and just type in undercover or egg cruelty. Or specifically you can type in free range cruelty. Free range cruelty, and that will show you free range certified farms and see if what's happening to the animals aligns with your values.
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be lazy and wait for your links.
Okay, cool. I'll go ahead. Let me look it up real quick here. I got you.
I'll watch them later.
I'm going to do Dominion first, though. But go ahead about Temple.
You do that. I'm going to talk about Temple Grandin just to bring everybody up, and then we'll move on to the next comments. Temple Grandin is very autistic. Very much an activist, kind of weird. She taught me about uniforms, and I really appreciate her for that. That putting on a uniform, even if you define it for yourself, puts you in a role, and kind of reminds you you're on the clock, and it's good. That's just a little psychological trick she does with herself, and she's famous for her audacious and unique uniforms. That's not really the most important part, though. She defined a lot of the studies on how to do veterinary procedures on cattle. I think I'm mostly talking about cows, but when I say cattle, widen that up. Widen that up to the whole meat section. And her thing was to recognize the psychology of cows and to really get inside their head and redesign the chutes that they're shoving them down toward the veterinary procedures to get them the most calm and happy and inducing curves and a bunch of things, and managed to show great improvement for the animals as well as costing benefits for applying the veterinary care. She also did the same thing for the slaughter component, that the veterinary care and the slaughter thing is, she designed them the same and made some great headway. That's Temple Grandin. She's an anti-cruelty, not vegan, and she's on the inside of your opponent and pushing them in your direction, sort of like Peter is doing with the left. Peter Boghossian, with the left progressive, he's someone on the inside pushing to make change in your direction, and therefore I think she's amazing. Even if I completely disagreed with her, she's someone I learned much from and have great heroism for. And I know you don't like her, and I respect your reasons.
Well, I mean, I like some parts of what she's doing, and I try to love everybody, but like, it can be hard sometimes.
You can love people without liking them.
Yeah,
that's possible.
But I mean, I just think it's still like, the animals, the cows, for example, that Temple Grandin is helping to have less psychological distress at the point of slaughter, is like, that's good, but those animals are only 18 months old. Yep. They're a year and a half old. These are young animals. Essentially, they're not even like teenagers yet. They're like, because they can live to be 25 years old, cows, right? Yep. So to kill a cow when they're 18 months old in and of itself seems cruel to me, because it does entail, decapitation, like cutting their heads off. And I don't see how ending their life is anything but cruel.
Yes. Let's blow through the rest of these comments. I don't mean quickly. I mean, let's address them.
And I put Dominion up in the
private chat, and after I will pop it into the description along with the other ones he sent me. Titan says, Juggling lessons. Other than tradition, what's the reason for not stunning? And I'm going to pretend that it's to both of us and ask us both to answer. Do you want to go first?
Well, I'd like to see what your thoughts are.
Good. Other than tradition, the reason for not stunning is I got nothing.
That's okay.
I think it's dumb. I think it's bad. I think the original tradition was to attempt that stunning standard, and then they got stuck in being too rigid about it and not updating themselves to the new equipment. That would be better.
Yeah, so a lot of what the problem is the speed that the kill line is moving at, because there's 8 billion people who want to eat meat, dairy, and eggs. And
it's all about the bottom line efficiency. They're trying to get that efficiency. Yeah,
exactly. In order to get that, to make that money and get the product out as fast as possible, they have to keep the kill line moving fast. And so if a worker misses, or has to go to the bathroom or something, you know what I mean? Like a lot of times, like and there's, by the way, just immense human rights abuses in slaughterhouses. It's a very dangerous job.
That's a good live stream by itself. The cost to the people doing it, psychologically, physically, their danger, all those things. That's a whole live stream by itself.
Yeah, I'll make a note right there. PTSD in slaughterhouse workers.
Thank you. Yes.
But yeah, so yeah, it's just that, if the worker misses, because sometimes, like, I mean, cows have really thick skulls. And so if you got a bolt gun and you're trying to get them, and they're moving around because they're scared, and sometimes, like, I've seen a cow get bolt gunned 30 times and not die, not go unconscious, and then they just slit her throat anyways, and she's vomiting, like projectile vomit through her nose, of course, and her, like blood and vomit. Just so anyway, and then we feed that mother to our children as ground beef for the school lunch programs in California. That slaughterhouse got shut down, so that's cool. But anyways,
good. That's egregious.
So traumatized. Like it was like fucking 14 years ago that I saw that video, and I'm still just like, oh. Okay, so anyway,
link that.
Can't remember what I was talking about, but
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so it's basically just, they got to keep killing. They got to keep the kill line moving fast. And sometimes if a machine malfunctions or whatever, it's all about money. It's not about love for the animals. It's not about justice.
Of course. Know where and what goes into your food and how it affects the planet. That is your message.
Hey, Isaac. Isaac is a really cool vegan activist.
Thank you, Isaac. Thank you for your heroic philanthropic efforts.
Awesome.
Is there anything that you could learn that would change your mind about eating meat? I want us to both answer that. I'll start. Cool. Yes, this conversation. Next.
If I found out that we have to eat animals in order to survive, then I would probably eat animals in order to survive. If I found out I had to eat you in order to survive,
yes,
I'd probably eat you, because
yes. And in the John Rawls thing, you'd
be so delicious is all.
Yes, I would be. I've been well fed. I'm not nearly so marbled as I used to be. I'm quite a bit more lean. Anyway, and in the whole John Rawls thing, I could write that in. That's the way I could go out, not waste my meat. Okay. My colleagues, Muslim, say that God allows it. So what am I supposed to say to that? God allows many things. I'm going to answer and then you can. God allows many things that we no longer allow as a society. Go ahead.
Yeah. If like, I'm an atheist, but if your God gives you the choice to be kind or cruel, why choose to be cruel? You know, why not choose kindness? Choose love.
Right. God allowed slavery. Some gods.
Yeah.
We don't.
Right. And there's some problems with those religious texts and certain religious ideas and stuff. But like, if but there are vegan Muslims, there are vegan Christians, vegan Jews, so
Yes.
vegan Hindus. So,
Yep.
it's not like your God is saying you have to kill animals. It's not like your God's going to be mad at you if you don't kill animals and eat their dead bodies. And also, another question would be like, if God wants you to eat animals, why did he make them with the ability to feel pain and desire to live? Like, why not make them
Hmm.
like plants, like where they don't have
Okay.
a brain or nerves, so they can't
So
be hurt,
problem of evil. Hmm.
they can't get scared, or
Yeah,
yeah.
indeed. Thank you,
And
Katron.
one other one is, if your God wants you to eat animals, why does meat cause cancer and heart disease? Is your God trying to kill you?
Ooh, that's interesting, useful data for when we talk about the nutrition side.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, Sasha, Kobe cows are treated very well in their lifetime. Is it okay to eat them if we ended their lives at old age without suffering?
That's a good question. So I had a dog named Enigma. He was a really
Yes.
cool pit bull Shar-Pei, and he lived to 14 years old. And then I put him to sleep. I gave him a mercy killing because his quality of life had
Yes.
deteriorated to the point where it wasn't worth
That's
living. He
that
was,
is usually the case with my pets, is I
yeah,
end up having to make a decision
right,
because I've created their environment so benign, they live way past their appropriate suffering in a natural state. So I have to look at their suffering and say, do I want to give you the next week?
right, of
I
just
really,
screaming,
I'm really only choosing like this week, next week, the following week, whatever, right? I'm seeing the
right.
suffering. And at some point I say, okay, I don't want to give you another week and we have to call it. And that's a really sad day.
Yeah, for sure. So, so I would support this for in the human context as well. Like, I would want someone to put me out of my misery if I was suffering immensely, give me the mercy killing. Don't
Yes.
make me suffer.
Yeah.
Um, so if I had, so I had treated my dog well throughout his life, let him live to old age, right? I didn't eat his dead body afterwards. I just had no desire to. I don't, but if I had, um, I wouldn't have like violated his rights or caused
Right.
him unnecessary harm or
Would not be
anything. I,
disrespectful if you had the
yeah,
right motivation.
yeah. Generally speaking, like, I don't care what you put in your mouth. I care about like harm to animals, right, and harm to humans. I'm a human rights activist, also, right. But like, so, um, but the potential problem of eating my dog, or Kobe beef, of raising cows and treating them well, and by the way, I'm not convinced that these. I would need to see evidence that Kobe
Sure, sure.
cows are
We're
are
taking Sasha's thing on its face and not concerning ourselves with whether he's talking about an actual real situation. It's a
Yeah,
hypothetical.
because I just want to make sure, because I have to clarify that I'm not convinced that those cows are killed in their old age. I think they're probably killed when they're young, because that's how profitable this stuff
Yeah,
works.
yeah.
Um, but anyways,
Embracing the
uh,
hypothetical.
but even if that were the case, yeah. So best case scenario is what he's trying to paint for us to
Yeah,
analyze, and that's good. But the potential problem of still eating those dead bodies is that it reinforces the idea that animals are food
sure.
for humans, and I
Absolutely.
don't think they are, and that can potentially lead to a slippery slope. Unless I'm trying not to make a slippery slope fallacy, but I think that it's already been established that this happened with animals already, and so I think it's understandable that it would happen again, which is that we didn't used to have factory farms. We used to have only small local family farms,
Uh-huh.
human civilization in the past. But then with the advent of industrialization, then we learned how to like make these giant factories and put animals in there, right?
Yeah.
And make it as bad as it could possibly be, because that maximizes profit. So I think that when we commodify animals, when we start to treat them as a resource, that's why I'm saying like this best case scenario isn't realistic, because it's not profitable for the farm to keep feeding these animals day after day, year after year, for decades, to let them have a nice, long, happy life. This is a business. This is about profit. So they kill them as soon as they're big enough, which is when they're
Yes.
like 18 months old.
Yes. Titan says, I'm literally a fact checker, so I had to check. That's correct. cows are not fully adult until 2 years old. 18 months would be mid-late teens equivalent. Thank you. Thank you, Titan. And if you are willing to come on this in future things, I would love to have your fact-checkingness on tap. Such a good thing. Thank you. Killing is still cruelty, isn't it? I think she says it says yes, and I'm undecided.
Well, because I mean, it's like being murdered. It's like being shot in the head while you're sleeping, right? So there's no pain and there's no fear, so that's good. But your fucking life was taken from you. Your fucking life was taken from you. You know what? Well, you want to be murdered in your sleep.
I could sign up. I could sign up for that and say, here are my do not resuscitate standards. Here are my standards for when my prognosis becomes X. I could and probably would sign up to not know it's coming.
Oh yeah, I hear you.
And have myself turned off in my sleep without notice, with the understanding that I had this contract that I set up long ahead, that when X and Y and Z happen, then
Sure, I'm with you on that. You know, I support death with dignity, the right to die. You know, it should be a legal right. You know, it's assisted suicide for, you know, especially definitely for people who are with, you know, chronic illnesses and stuff, terminal illness.
But anyway, it would have to be something terminal-ish of that nature. It'd be the same. I would use the same standards as I use for my pets going to the vet to be not brought home again.
Yeah,
but in the that's not usually my style.
But in the human context, I think, like, if I shot you without your consent, if I shot you in the head while you were sleeping, that would still be cruel to you know, because when we die, we lose everything. You know, if you get kicked, you have a bruise, but if you get killed, you lose everything. You know, your whole existence, all the future enjoyment that you would have had, all your friends and family relationships destroyed. You know, and these animals have that as well. They have a future waiting to be enjoyed. So that matters to them. It matters to me.
We're taking that away from them. We're taking their future very much. This is vegan.
We got that vegan chicken too. You know, that vegan chicken nuggets is good, son.
Anyway. Cool. Is it soy based?
There's different kinds with different ingredients. I can't remember which one. Morningstar is my favorite. The spicy buffalo wings. They're like breaded. You know, cook them in the air fryer. Dip them in some barbecue sauce and some ketchup. Oh, it's good. It's good. It's good. Usually they're made they're either made out of soy.
I want to get through.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for nuanced answer about Grandin. It was very fair. Thank you.
Cool.
In the religion traditions of not sending all, do they give reasons other than mere we've always done it this way? My read is that it's tradition, and I'm coming from the Jewish side of things. I don't know the Islamic nuance.
Well, with halal slaughter in Islamic tradition, to the best of my knowledge, you know, they think that the animal is sacrificing themselves to you, and that this is their purpose, and that maybe stunning them would somehow, for some reason, I don't think they give a reason, maybe, but somehow taint the process.
This is their purpose, is like me telling somebody from my out group that about their motivations. I'm wrong. I am so wrong. I don't know. Why would I think so? This is their purpose, is forcing an external purpose on the animal that the animal probably can't even conceive of.
Yeah, and so what they'll do with halal slaughter, and you can watch videos on YouTube, halal slaughter, and you know, so they'll do stuff like they pray over the animal and stuff, and then they will like cover the animal's eyes and like get the animal on the ground and subdue them and stuff. And then they'll be like, see how calm the animal is? They're submitting to me. They want to be a sacrifice to Allah and to me, you know, and this is the way nature is supposed to be. You see how calm they are? They're not calm because they want to be a sacrifice for you. They're calm because they're scared shitless because you're dominating them.
Sure. Yeah. And And maybe they're calm because they don't know it's coming and they're just expecting a veterinary procedure because that's all they've ever learned from
Yeah,
what this shoot is.
yeah, could be that as well, you know, or a combination of both. So,
They
anyways,
can't read the slaughterhouse shoot sign.
yeah.
They can't tell. Okay. The comments are coming in faster than, so I hope we'll finish out. If it isn't easy being a vegan activist, but we're the only hope of the planet. The planet is burning, and we're the only one that cares? Question. There has to be better education. Okay, I want to answer to a very specific thing. Do you think vegan is the only hope for the planet?
Well, not vegan only, because that wouldn't alone solve the climate crisis. We also have to do something about transportation and, you know, the giant corporations using all this fossil fuel energy and stuff like that. So, but we do need to all eat a plant-based diet in order to in order to like avoid environmental collapse, in addition to, because according to the United Nations, the raising cattle, just cattle, not including pigs and sheep and chickens and these other individuals, but cows alone, raising cattle across the world creates the same amount or actually more greenhouse gas emissions than the entire transportation sector, which is all cars, trucks, trains, planes, and ships put together.
Okay.
So if we stop breeding cows, it's like taking all of it. It would be like removing every plane, car, ship. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. Praise on you, Isaac, for your heroic philanthropic work. Sasha, in your opinion, what is your best argument for going vegan? I'm sure you're going to see it in this series. And I really would be interested in your opinion, Sasha, at the end of the series as to which one you found the best. Chase, what do you think is your best? Did you bring your best today, or did you bring the one I asked for, which was the one that would keep us coming back?
I mean, the alien analogy, I think, is very strong. It helps us understand speciesism and ableism, you know, that we're using discriminatory like language and reasonings, prejudiced reasonings to justify violence against animals just because they're different, just because they're not as smart as us or whatever.
Right. We have the power, so we're using it. We're abusing it.
Yeah. And so it's that might makes right mentality, which most of us are usually against the idea of might makes right, because that's what, you know, the bully uses to justify his actions, or the tyrant, the dictator, the serial killer, you know, and we're against that, you know,
we
we're
find
all
it
against
fundamentally unfair.
Yeah, especially when we're the victim, you know. And so but yeah, so I think the aliens one is a cool one that you know does a few things at once, but and then also, you know, the killing, the fact that these animals are young when they're killed. Like, I didn't know that I was eating baby animals, you know what I mean? And like you know, pigs are killed when they're only 6 months old. That's like killing a puppy. Right. So so that's crazy. But maybe to me, the strongest is one I came up with. The strongest argument was one I came up with like a couple of years ago, which is, you know, that if it's wrong to kick an animal, isn't it worse to cut their head off? Like, I really think that most people agree that it's worse to be killed than it is to be kicked. And so
I am strangely so much more moved by this fraction of not the bolting thing than I am by the killing. I'm not moved by the killing. No.
Okay.
You might change that about me. Okay.
Okay. And one of the things, like, just to be clear, like, one of the reasons I don't usually focus on talking about, you know, the improper stunning, or you know, the fact that they have their tails cut off and their teeth clipped and their ears clipped with no painkiller and stuff, so they don't bite each other and all these things, you know what I mean? so like when they're driven insane in these tiny cages, you know. But
Right.
like the reason I kind of I don't focus mostly on that because most of us are already against that. You know what I mean? Meat eaters,
Sure.
like even though you know most meat eaters are buying those torturous products, at least they're against them in theory. You know, in their value system, they're against that. But
Yep.
what still has yet to be um, decided is whether or not it's okay to kill.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I really focus on.
Okay. What argument would you give to someone who counts every calorie and macro and makes a living off these being precise and can't make the diet? Makes a living off? Okay, I'm going to change that. I think you mean like is extending their lifespan, is doing their life with this as opposed to money. I'm assuming this is a health question. I can't make the diet restrictions without meat. Now, that's where I am right now. That I have found a diet in which I can achieve all of my weight and blood sugar goals, and it is incredibly precise. And you just saw my wife bring me my breakfast, and she's measuring literally everything, and we've got whole policies, and oh man, it's complex and involved. And if I were to substitute meat for the meat substitutes like nuts and those kind of things, I don't know. So I'm delaying. Tell me about whether you think this limitation that Quaid, what's your argument, is bringing is something that's real or imagined, or I just need some education.
Sure. So
Let's assume that I'm willing to let go of my desire for meat in exchange for the equivalent nuts and the other things. Let's just assume that this is not a question of my preference. It's just a question of my nutrition.
okay, sure. So the first thing I would say is that I just sent Dolly a link to
Thank you.
my 200 vegan health sources. So these are like
Thank you.
peer reviewed studies and meta analyses and things, from the scientific literature about, the appropriateness of a vegan diet, how it's healthy for all stages of life, including for athletes and the elderly and babies and pregnant mothers and all this.
Seen many great examples.
Yeah. And you can always look up vegan bodybuilders and see what they eat in a day, and then there's also a website called Chronometer, which I sent to Dolly as well. So Chronometer is a site where you can type in what foods you're eating, and it'll tell you how, like, type in, I'm eating an apple, right? And it'll say, okay, here's how many calories, how much protein, whatever is in an apple.
Okay, so it does the nutrition facts math for you.
Yeah, so you can more easily calculate what you're taking in. And then, yeah, but again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian. I'm simply looking at what the experts are saying and relaying that information in more basic terms.
Very much. Thank you.
But yeah.
Okay. Meat consumption is a part of a lot of social rituals in the U.S. and other parts of the world. Is there a way to consume humanely, or to what would you replace it with?
Okay, so rituals and like tradition in general and like cultural stuff, so
Turkey Day.
Yeah. So so there's no matter what part of the world, there's going to be good parts of our culture and bad parts of our culture, and so I'm trying to hold on to the good parts of our culture and get rid of the bad parts, the violent, discriminatory, bigoted parts, because a lot of our cultural practices include racism, but that's not cool, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, we could just change that.
Yeah,
exactly. Very malleable in this regard.
Yeah, and I just think that culture is not a justification for violence against humans or animals, if it can be avoided,
Yeah, so I think and nuts and Tofu.
Yeah, whatever you want. I mean, there's still aspects of the culture that are fine, like dance and music and film
Mhm.
and storytelling and things like this. And the food can still be, you can still have your normal spices and
Mhm.
sauces that remind you of, uh, Asian or Indian or
That
Mexican or
oatmeal that I
whatever.
just had with all the extra nuts in it and way,
Mm,
way, way lots of pepper.
mm.
Mwah.
I've never put
So good.
pepper into oatmeal, but you do your
I
thing,
Oh man,
dude.
pepper. Mm.
Crazy.
Patty says, "What about feeding the hungry in third world countries? If we were all vegan, that could be another benefit." Absolutely. Calorically, if we were all vegan, I think we go from having about 30 to 40% more food than we need to 200% more food than we need. Something, I don't know.
I'm
Uh,
not
and,
sure
and
about
when I
that
say we have
specific.
more than we need, it's because we waste a whole lot more food than people
Um,
would need if we distributed it right. Okay.
yeah.
This is a question of social will. This is not a question of do we have enough food production? We have enough food production.
Mhm.
No question.
Yeah, it's a great point because if memory serves correctly, last time I looked at the numbers, something like 1 billion humans are underfed, are living in poverty and have food scarcity.
Mhm.
And like something like 20,000 children die every day from starvation across the world, and that's just intolerable to me. Like I think that food should be free. Food should be a
Yes.
human right, a guaranteed human right, along with universal health care, universal housing. There should be no such
Mhm.
thing as homelessness. You know what I mean? Like I
Yep.
was homeless for a while, living in my
Mhm.
car. People don't, you can't thrive in that situation. It's hard to pick yourself up when you're stuck down there. So
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, so I want everybody to be taken care of. I'm big on human rights.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah,
Yeah, I'm a lefty liberal Lucy, want everybody to survive and live, and
mhm,
boy, I'm
bleeding
such a
heart.
softy. Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, how dare you care about your fellow human? But anyway, like yeah, but according to the University of Oxford, raising animals takes up 75% of our farmland because we have to
Uh-huh.
grow a bunch of plants to feed all these animals.
Totally.
And so we would free
They
up a ton of
Our
farmland if we
cattle
stopped
out
breeding these.
biomass us by quite a fraction.
Yeah, and University of Oxford also said that producing beef required 36 times more land than producing peas. So that's crazy because peas are packed with protein, and you can turn the peas into a burger that doesn't taste like peas. It tastes like a burger. You know what I mean? Like an
Mhm.
actual meat burger. Or you
Yeah,
can
I
use
don't
the
like those.
peas as a protein shake. You know what I mean? It doesn't taste
Yeah.
like peas. It just tastes like vanilla or whatever.
I really like peas, and I really don't like those burgers, but
Okay,
I don't
whatever
care
works.
because the burger is not the thing that whatever.
See, I love that stuff. I eat mad like processed vegan junk food. Like I
Mm.
eat pretty healthy too, like, but I'm constantly eating, vegan sausages, vegan chicken, vegan burgers, all that good stuff. So
Yeah.
like you'd be surprised, like a lot of non-vegans have this idea, like I used to before I went vegan, of like I
Mhm.
wouldn't even know what they eat, just lettuce. Like what else is it? It's like, well, dude,
That's
like
not food,
rice.
that's what food eats.
Yeah, there's so much
I'm
stuff though.
quoting an
Rice.
old mentor of mine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But like rice, pasta, fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, beans, bread. And then, like I said, vegan pizza, vegan lasagna, all that good stuff, tacos, vegan ice cream.
Wrap us up, send us out. Give me your last word.
Um, well, where's your bird at? Hold up your bird.
Oh, um, my bird is out doing bird business
Oh,
in the backyard,
all right. We don't
and
want to interrupt bird business.
yeah, sorry, she didn't get the live stream notice worked
Didn't
out,
get the
and
memo, huh?
that's
Oh,
fine.
okay.
Uh,
That's
I
all right.
mean,
It's okay.
I do have one that's eating down there. I also just don't want to disturb her. She's being sweet down there.
Okay, cool. So did you already post those links in the chat for everybody?
I will post them in the description immediately
Okay.
following when I edit.
Okay, cool. So
So
everybody
so
check out the
y'all,
links in the
10 or
description
15 minutes,
afterwards.
check the description. You'll be able to go check out all the things
Okay.
that Chase brought.
Okay,
Summary?
cool. I think that's good. I appreciate
What's the
you.
message you want ringing in their head?
I mean, I already said it all, but like, I guess the
Look,
main message of today was the aliens thing. You know, think about again, we wouldn't want to be treated the way that we treat animals if
right.
aliens came and started acting like the big bad guy, like we are. You know what I mean? If there was an apex predator, that doesn't mean
Mhm.
necessarily that they have to use the power they hold. They could, in a violent way. You know, they could use the
Right.
power to protect us, and that's what
Yes.
we can do for the animals as well.
Be the
We try to
adult.
we try
Yeah.
to protect we protect our dogs and cats. We try to protect little kids. We protect the most vulnerable among us in our societies. And that's just what we should do for the animals as well, because they really need our help.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
to
you.
beautiful community. I'm going to start waving, see if the AI takes it and ends the broadcast for us. I think we both have to wave.